Hello everyone, before I get into the known video, this is my dog Loki, and it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, buddy. Um, so, Alone, able to watch episode 4 and 5. It was a double hitter this week, back-to-back episodes. Dusty, the guy from Arkansas, I was rooting for him to win this, and he tapped out on day 12 because 10 days without I'm able to crap and pee. You don't know what was going on. You don't know if it was because of some kind of lack of nutrient he wasn't getting, or if it was something he ate that didn't agree with him, so he tapped out because he didn't want to risk, that becoming a serious health issue. So I was shocked Dusty tapped out. That sucked. Blake, Josh, the bird watcher guy, he's not having a good time. 18 days in, he went fishing, checked his gill net, he caught nice pike fish. And inside of that fish's mouth was a small pike fish. So he was like, hey, sweet, I just got 2 fish. I only caught 1. Then he checked his gill net, and there was a massive pike fish in the gill net. So that's 3 fish he caught. So as he went to go back to camp to clean the fish and eat it, he slipped on a jagged edge of rock and landed right on his tailbone. And now his tailbone's hurting him. He's in pain, but he's toughing it out. Then the poor guy, as he was cooking his food, cooking the fish and all that, he put his hand on the cover of the pot, but the pot was too hot, and he burnt his hand. He's hoping now that there would be no infection for the burnt hand. He's put bandages on it, and it showed him take the bandage off like a few days afterwards when it happened. And his hand doesn't look all that good. He's hoping that he could tough it out, it would heal up properly. So he's not having very much luck. Dub, that guy is crazy. Building the shelter. He's got his shelter, looks like a friggin' subway tunnel. It's cool, I love it. He's got an insulated with mud and spruce tree branches, all that around it. His tarp's wrapped around it. And he said, but what's cool is he dug so many feet of dirt out. So when you go inside of it, it looks small on the outside, the tunnel, but when you go inside, it's massive. Lots of room, but he realized when he was having his campfire that going, there was a lot of smoke and insulation built up inside his shelter, so he forgot he needs to build a chimney so the smoke and that can go out. So he got some rocks, carried it back to his campsite, which is like a mile away from where he got the rocks. Got some mud in that, and he built kind of like a tunnel, a chimney tunnel leading out of a shelter. Then he started the campfire up because he said the weather's getting colder now. And he said, hey, it's working great. The smoke insulation's going out of my shelter, which I want. Then he decided to, he's not having no luck catching fish on his gill net. So he took some branches and knew some fishing lure and some bait from whitefish he had and placed them along the river's edge like a fish trap. And it worked. And it's awesome. It showed like when a fish got hooked on the bait, how the branch would bend down and snap right back. Something was on that. He grabbed a hold of it and he said, wow, look at the size of that pike fish. But he pulled too quickly and the fish got away. But then another one of his traps triggered. And he was able to get a nice medium-sized pike fish off of that trap. So he said, there we go. I got some food for the night. That's awesome. Then Timber. Up to his 18-day journey in, Timber got a moose, folks. That's awesome. He got a moose. He was out and about, just walking, looking for wildlife, and he saw a moose laying down. He snuck up close as he could get to it, but it was about like 500 yards away from him. And he said what was lucky was the breeze for the wind wasn't traveling his direction, so the moose would not, smell his scent. So he got his bow and arrow ready. He waited. He made a moose call. The moose stood up. He fired it. Got the moose. Hit it right in the lungs because you can hear the bubbling sound the moose was making. That means when something penetrates the lung there. So he quickly started skinning the moose, cutting away strips of the fat, cutting away the fur, the heart, the liver. They realized he's got a mile to track all this meat back to camp, and he's afraid that like grizzly bears or coyotes gonna show up and eat the meat, right? And it's gonna get spoiled. So he decided to build a fire and kept that going all night where the moose was killed at. The carcass there. Then he slowly kept traveling back and forth to the shelter, carrying like the fat, the heart, the liver, pieces of meat, the fur and the hide and that. Then he realized after so many hours doing that, he needed to rest up. So he slept for the night, went back at it the next day. Luckily, no grizzly bears or coyotes got at the meat. But he's hoping that the time it took him to get back there, that the sun and that didn't spoil the meat. So he got the rest of the meat he wanted. They decided to build kind of like a wooden smoke cache made out of like branches and logs, and he fastened it down to his rope and paracord, and that's where he's storing the meat, and he's smoking it there like a smoker. And it's cool. He's got like a wood logs made kind of like a door, and he's got this massive log sitting down on it. So every time he lifts that up, it's like a door, like a latch opening, right? So he's out to keep the grizzly bears away and the coyotes. So he started taking the fat and pieces of the moose meat, went back to his camp because he kept it away from his campsite. Because he didn't want to risk grizzly bears and coyotes showing up at his shelter there. And he's eating his moose and all that. And the next day he decides to go get some more moose meat. Mink is there eating the meat. So he scares away the mink. The next day he goes back. The mink is in the cache again. So he scares the mink away again. This time the mink has did some damage. It ate some of the heart, ate some of the other pieces of meat. So he said, well, I made it grizzly bear and coyote proof. Apparently I didn't make it mink proof. He said, so I got to come up with some way to get that mink, keep it away from my smoke cache here. So he did something cool. To preserve the fat from the moose, he boiled it in the pot he had over the campfire to liquid form. Then he took birch logs and actually carved the inside of them out so it's hollow inside, and poured the fat inside of them, and then put like the cover on it. So he's that way he's going to keep that in a shelter. He's that way when the colder weather hits and all that, I got basically liquid fat soup, he called it. So Timber is on a good journey. He's going to do good. Show him Isaiah up to 18 days of his journey, and 18 days in, he doesn't even have a shelter built. He's taking so long because every time he's building it, he comes up with an idea. I want to add this to the shelter. And I want to make it longer. And the next time, now I want to make it shorter. I want to make it wider. He can't make up his mind how he wants his shelter built. So he's carrying rocks and that back forth, laying them down, hammering down logs, tying some branches together, bringing some spruce tree branches, all that. He's got a tarp over it. Honestly, 18 days in, his shelter, it's like not even close at all being built. He hasn't eaten in 12 days. So he said, the hunger is getting to me. He said, but I got to focus on getting my shelter done before I even worry about eating. Because he says, if I get my shelter built in time, I can win this. Because he said, the time the snow hits and all that, and the colder weather hits, I'll be the only one left. He's not thinking long term. He's just thinking until winter comes and the snowfall. As long as he can last to then, he said, I got this. Because there's no other way the other contestants can last that long. So that's his mindset. And I've seen from previous episodes and seasons of Alone, people have done that. They focused on the shelter, never ate in that. They end up getting taken away for medical reasons. Or they got the shelter done and didn't last long-term plans. They had short-term plans. And when the snow and winter hit, they were screwed. The last person they showed was Maikai. She caught some fish. And then she went and checked her rabbit snares and her squirrel traps, and no luck. And then one time, it was day 16 it showed, she was working on a shelter, which is like a teepee style shelter, and she's got that thing insulated good. Like, she's got a lot of twigs and spruce branches all around that thing. Jeez, it's like looks like a big massive hamster cage full of insulation. That's just my dog barking, my next door neighbor, saying hi. So anyways, she heard something in the woods, and she went and looked, and something had killed a rabbit. So she, well, I got rabbit for supper. Now, after she ate the rabbit, she started feeling like alone, all that. She tapped out on day 18, folks. Malachi tapped out. Double elimination this week. On one episode, Dusty quit in the right beginning. The next episode, she quit. She tapped out because she felt it was too isolated where she lived at. She's used to living in the wild, all that, like living by herself and that. But she always had friends and family nearby, right? Miles away. Here she said it felt completely different because there's no one around, just her and the wildlife. She said it felt like she was very isolated for civilization. She didn't realize that she missed her family and friends that much, so she tapped out on day 18. So there we go, folks. Now we're down to the final 6, and next week it shows it's medical team checkup time. Every season they do this. Medical teams come check on the contestants, see how they're doing, and it shows the 6 contestants, and it doesn't say the medical team. What I'm trying to say is it says we have to pull you out due to medical reasons, and then it just shows the 6 of them. So we don't know who the medical team's pulling out next week. But somebody else is leaving, taking the final 6 to the final 5 already. Like, I've watched alone, and this season, the contestants are dropping like flies, man. Like, they're tapping out now, like, quickly. Like last season, like, it was like maybe 20 days before someone tapped out. And one other season, it went like 30 days before someone tapped out. Here, it's like, they're just quickly tapping out, like, nonstop. I gotta say, my honest opinion, Masayo, he's going to be gone next. If he ain't the one being pulled out for the medical team, he's going to be the next one gone because he's just thinking short term. He ain't thinking long term. Dub's doing pretty good. He has lost 20 pounds, but he's catching fish. He's got a nice insulated shelter. He's got some nice traps set for wildlife, for rabbits and squirrels. Hoping he'll catch something there. Timber's got all that moose meat to keep him going. He said that's a start. He said, but he's got to improve that, he calls smoke ash, to make it mink-proof. And Blake, how's he going to do? He's got a hurt tailbone. His hand's burnt. Maybe he's the one that's pulled out next week when the medical team shows up. And the other contestant, I can't remember her name. I apologize. They didn't show her at all. Like, I thought that was weird. Like, she must, like, of all the other contestants, she was not shown at all in this 2-part episode this week. So that was interesting. So maybe she's not doing something interesting enough to show on TV yet. I don't know. There you have it, folks. If you have not watched Unknown episode 4 and 5 yet, definitely check it out. It's worth watching. And what are your thoughts of Dusty and Maki tapping out due to not being able to crap pee for 10 days and due to feeling too isolated, too alone, and she missed the family and friends? And also let me know below in the comments who you think's the medical team's going to tap out next week. Is it going to be Blake? I think it is him because of his hurt tailbone and his burnt hand. If not, it's going to be a shocker. Because even he said on day 18, he's in Syria. His tailbone's killing him. His hand's hurting him. So he's toughing it out. But the medical team, they can just say, hey, time's up. We're going to pull you out. And that would suck if that's what happens. Take him off the show. There you have it, folks. Stay safe, everybody. Too sweet. Bye.